Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've always been fascinated by the BMW M5. To me, it's the quintessential sports sedan. You know, a lot of power and yet a luxurious, comfortable interior and somehow handling of a sports car. But in many ways, the M5 was always the quintessential sports sedan, right? It's kind of the one that started the trend. Now, I've only ever had the privilege of driving one M5, the previous M5, the F10, and let me tell you, it was like meeting one of your childhood heroes, equal parts thrilling and terrifying. But I absolutely loved it. So this is the new M5, the F90, and we're told it is a step forward in just about every way compared to its predecessor. For a start, it has 40 more horsepower and 70 Newton meters of torque more than the predecessor, and they swapped out the 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox for an 8-speed torque converter automatic that they say is smoother but just as quick. But no, the big difference with this new F90 M5 is that for the first time, as standard, the BMW M5 is 4-wheel drive. Now I have a lot to tell you about the new M5, but let's get the boring stuff out of the way right in the beginning. It's a luxury car, it's trimmed fastidiously well. This is a limited first edition model of which there are 4 in India and all are sold out. But even if you choose the standard M5, you'll get all the trappings of a fully loaded 5 Series and then some. Rich wood, soft leather and cool aluminium are the norm, and there's nothing stripped out about this interior. This is a proper luxury car. And it's also a comfortable car when you leave it in comfort mode. Look, you can always tell that it is a sportier car because yes, it's riding on 20-inch wheels and there's a little bit of firmness to the ride. But in comfort mode, the steering is easy, the engine is smooth, there's a little bit of lag to ease you into the power, and it's only when you extend your foot a bit that you wake up the engine some more. But really, you could use this as an everyday luxury car. No problem. And of course this is a sedan, so I should probably tell you a little bit about the back seat, right? So let's go have a look at that. The back seat of the BMW M5, and what can I tell you about it other than the fact that it's exactly the same as the back seat of a regular 5 Series. That is to say, very spacious, very comfortable and very luxuriously equipped. Oh, but this has something different. The seat belts have a nice M coloring to them, which is kind of cool and kind of sporty. And I suppose now I should probably tell you about the boot. You get a much bigger boot than the standard 5 Series, and that's because the M5 doesn't have a huge cradle to house the spare tire. The flip side is it doesn't have a spare tire either, so maybe go easy on those soft sporty Pirelli P0s. And with the practical stuff out of the way, let's get back into the driver's seat. So back to the seat that matters most, and let me tell you just a little bit about the driving environment. Well, it starts out with this big chunky steering wheel. It's the norm these days for M cars, really big steering wheels, but this one's a little bit different because it's got these new shortcut buttons, the little red toggles over here, which let you configure the drive settings. Now there are loads and loads of drive settings to choose from: gearbox ferocity, engine, suspension, steering, which can all be set into 3 different levels. The combinations are frankly baffling. But if you take the time to configure it, it is all very easily accessible at the press of one button. There you go. So how else is this different from a normal 5 Series? Well, the starter button is red in a very motorsport-like fashion, and the gear lever resembles Robocop's helmet. But what I love the absolute most are these seats. Every time there's a new M5, they take the seat game to an all new level, and it's no different here. These things can be snug if you're thin, fat, a bodybuilder, anything. They can be adjusted in so many ways and will suit just about any frame. And now on to the elephant in the room, the four-wheel drive system. How could they possibly have done this to the M5, fit it with four-wheel drive? But quite frankly, when you have 750 Newton meters of torque, that's what you need to effectively put it down to the road. Now BMW maintains that the best way to drive the M5 quickly is to leave it in one of the four-wheel drive modes. But to keep those purists happy, they have fitted it with a rear-wheel drive only mode for that little bit extra leeriness. To show you what I mean, I've come to an empty, closed road, found a clean stretch, set it to rear-wheel drive, and, well, see, that's what happens when you try and force 750 Newton meters through the rear wheels. And yes, you do feel like a bit of a child, but really, it's not the most sensible way to get around, is it? So yes, you can be a bit of a buffoon with the M5 if you want, but with this much power on hand, you really want to be careful with it. So let's put it back into four-wheel drive mode and see if it's lost any of that magic. So here's the thing, the new M5 is four-wheel drive, but for the most part it doesn't really feel that way. It really feels like power is being sent to the back of the car. It's only that the front wheels are there to pull you out of a sticky situation and to provide a little bit of extra grip. That inherent balance that comes from a rear-wheel drive car is still very much all there. It's not tugging from the front, it's pushing from the back. The steering is so sharp and so quick, it shrinks this 2-ton sedan down to bantamweight, and it simply darts into corners. It's not as agile as an M3, but for something this big, it is truly impressive. It's lost none of that magic BMW front-end turn-in, and quite frankly, it lets you put down all this power with a little bit more peace of mind. I'm not worried about losing the rear end as much anymore, as I was in the last M5. So yes, it feels more secure, but it hasn't become wooden in the process. It still likes to dance. Now, a clear advantage of the four-wheel drive system is that it allows you to launch the M5 a lot more cleanly and put all that power and torque down. And let me just demonstrate what that feels like, okay? Let me make sure I've got all the settings right. Gearbox in the most ferocious setting, manual mode, four-wheel drive sport, DSC off, everything else in sport plus. I think we're ready to go. Okay, put hard on the brake, build up revs, go! Oh my god! That's 0 to 100 in 3.4 seconds from a 2-ton sedan. Oh my god! Woohoo! Let me just tell you, the acceleration is absolutely addictive, and the brakes, this car is fitted with carbon ceramic brakes and they bite nice and hard. Now the other thing I absolutely love about the M5 package is the way it looks, because while a lot of other super sedans tend to shout about the power and performance they have underneath the skin, the M5 is almost subtle about it. Sure, it's got this wild frozen red metallic paint and gloss black accents, but that's because this car is a first edition. And yes, enthusiasts will identify it by its 4 tailpipes and the slightly more aggressive bumpers, but it doesn't have bulging haunches or extended wheel arches. To most, it will look like a regular 5 Series, until of course it launches off from the lights. Now I have to admit, at the start of today, I too was a little bit skeptical that BMW had turned the new M5 with its 4-wheel drive into a bit of a blunt force instrument. But I'm happy to report that it's not just all power and all grip and nothing else. It is a finely honed rear bias super sedan. And yes, though you can have a bit of wild fun with the rear wheel drive only mode, it's truly the 4-wheel drive sport mode that gets the most out of the new M5. You can really exploit the chassis and put all that power down and have a lot of fun with it. And at a price of 1.43 crore rupees, ex-showroom, it's not wildly overpriced either for a super sedan. So fans of the BMW M5, rest easy, for your champion is safe. It's not just a brute in a suit, but a finely honed super saloon. Ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate driving machine is well and truly back.